Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the planet Earth, the John Campea Show podcast, coming from right here in our quaint little studio. I'm, of course, your host, John Campea. I'm joined in studio today by Ray Ora.
Hey, what's up, everyone?
Jonathan Voico.
Good morning.
Robert Meyer-Burnett.
I'm going to bring her back today, John.
You didn't go see that? Oh, that comes out today.
Today.
I didn't know how that is. And most importantly, of course, you guys are here. Thank you so much for being here, making our little show part of your day. And here's how today's show is going to go. We're going to start off by talking about a number of predetermined topics that we've got lined up for you guys. Then in the second part of the show, that's when we take your live comments and questions. If you have a thought, theory, opinion, question, or topic you'd like us to address, as long as we deem it appropriate to be addressed on the show, send it on into our tip link at www.streamelements.com/John Campea/tip. And here's the good news about the tip link. It's actually good 24 hours a day, not just when we're live. So if you're listening to this show a little bit later, say you're listening to us on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, or if you're watching this show later in the day when we're not live, you can still send in a question. And if you send one in when we're not live, well, we'll just get around to answering it on the next episode. All right, guys. That down. Let's get things started with this, shall we? You know, one of my favorite things to watch on TV right now is, I think it's called Mobland.
Yep.
With Tom Hardy and Helen Mirren and Pierce Brosnan. Well, Helen Mirren and Pierce Brosnan are teaming up again for a new movie based on a novel, or I don't know if it's a novel or a series of books.
Series of novels.
Yeah.
And in case that wasn't a good enough cast, they're also being joined by Academy Award winner Sir Ben Kingsley in The Thursday Murder Club. And the folks over at IndieWire are writing the Thursday Murder Club teaser. Pierce Brosnan and Helen Mirren solve a retirement home slaying. They write this. What do you get when you have a home full of retirees with endless time on their hands? Well, a compelling whodunit. The highly anticipated film adaptation of Richard Osman's best-selling novel, The Thursday Murder Club, is almost here with Pierce Brosnan, Helen Mirren, Ben Kingsley, and Celia Emery playing the central foursome of sleuths. Chris Columbus, I haven't seen his name pop up in a while. Chris Columbus directs the feature film for Netflix. And The Thursday Murder Club centers on neighbors Elizabeth, Helen Mirren, Ron, Pierce Brosnan, Ibrahim, played by Ben Kingsley, and Joyce, played by Emery, who spend their time solving cold case murders for fun. When an unexplained death occurs on their own doorstep, their casual sleuthing takes a thrilling turn as they find themselves with a real whodunit on their hands, as the synopsis teases. All right. I got instantly kind of excited when I saw Helen Mirren and Pierce Brosnan together again, because, again, I'm watching them in Mobland right now, and I love them in Mobland. They're going to have very, very different accents in this movie than they do in Mobland. And then you got Ben Kingsley and Columbus directing. Look, I am a sucker for mysteries. I'm a big sucker for mystery stuff. That's why I'm so big on the Glass Onion, Knives Out kind of movies that Rian Johnson does. One of the reasons why I like Only Murders in the Building so much. Now, look, you might be tempted to think, this synopsis sounds a little bit like Only Murders in the Building.
I fell into temptation this morning. You corrected me.
Well, it's true, but we must remember that this book was around before
Sure.
Only Murders in the Building.
To be clear, I wasn't like, this is copying.
No.
I love it. I was like, hey, this is great.
I think the trailer's whodunit. And I am stoked. I love these performers. I love the premise. I love a good murder. And listen, as much as I love Only Murders in the Building, I prefer my whodunit mysteries in movie format. I don't like, I mean, don't get me, I love Only Murders in the Building, but I prefer to have it in a movie rather than over 10 episodes or whatever. So I think this looks great. And it's very rare that I think a Netflix movie looks great. And unfortunately, that is what this is. This is a Netflix film. 99% of Netflix original films are complete garbage. This might be one of the 1%, though, because it looks pretty good to me. Rob, you had a chance to see the trailer. What did you think about it?
James Bond, Gandhi, and Morgan Le Fay solve murders together. It's either a great setup for a joke, or it's something I'm going to be tuning into because, man, this looks good. Look, I love the fact that Pierce Brosnan in his post-Bond age has continued to churn out great stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, he's, you know, everything from movies like The Matador to doing stuff like this.
I love
That's
Matador.
an underrated movie.
Totally underrated movie, man. And Pierce Brosnan has just got, he classes up the joint. I love it. And same with like Helen, the Mirrensaunce, you know, I mean, she's been killing it. She's not stopped working. And same with Ben Kingsley. I mean, always figuring out ways to reinvent himself. I mean,
he's got Wonder Man.
He's got Wonder Man.
Yeah.
He's Trevor's. There's a hot toy of Ben Kingsley, and I own it.
Like his character a lot.
I mean,
love
yeah,
Trevor.
he's great. Trevor's great, and I like when actors, you know, they understand the assignment. Like they're not going to stop acting. They're going to keep going just because. Okay, yeah, you played Gandhi. Where do you go from there? I don't know. But Ben Kingsley has never given up. Like F. Murray Abraham after Salieri. He never gave up. He still is out there.
Oh
kicking
yeah, man,
ass.
and he was doing great in what is it, Mythic Quest?
Yeah,
I loved his role on that.
I love
and
Mythic
also
Quest.
in like Homeland.
And yeah,
You know, that's the thing.
Not to
I
mention
don't
Broadway.
know why. There are people out there right now giving Pierce Brosnan a hard time.
why?
Because-
Who are they?
Yeah,
Tell
who
me
are
because I
they?
want to know
And
right
they
now.
must be stopped. Giving him a hard time for his Irish accent in Mobland.
You never give anyone
He's
a hard
Irish.
time for an Irish accent.
I have never once,
He's Irish.
watching that show, ever at all questioned the accent he was doing. Now, granted, I'm not Irish, but that tells you it was working. Like it never once dawned on me that, oh, maybe this is the wrong accent until a bunch of loudmouths decide to complain about it. Well, whatever. I think he sounds great. I think he comes across as powerful. I love him in that, and Helen Mirren just as much. I can't wait to see.
You know,
this.
I just want you to know, in terms of fake Irish accents, I bought Ron Howard's Far and Away that stars Tom Cruise as an Irishman.
I've talked
remember
to
that
Irish
simply
friends who hate that accent.
Simply because I love it when he goes, "You're a Carker, Shannon." A Carker. I bought it just for that line.
They were like, us Irish, we do not end every question, every like statement in a huh, like a hi. Like, what are you doing? Why? Where are we gonna go?
Oh, and listen, I hope somehow, some way, I totally understand if he doesn't. It's totally understandable if James Gunn does not do this. But if he could find a way to bring Pierce Brosnan back as Dr. Fate, that was one of the things that worked really well in the Black Adam. Not everything worked real well in the Black Adam movie. He was one of the things that did. Anyway, guys, question is for you.
Carker.
Did you have a chance to watch this trailer for the Thursday Murder Club? I think it looks great. I'm really looking forward to seeing
does.
this. Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. That down. Let's move on to this, shall we? Peacemaker Season 2 is getting close. They just dropped the full trailer for it the other week, and I thought it was banger. I thought it was absolutely fantastic. I love that trailer. Now, one of the things that we saw in the trailer was a couple of characters. Remember, this comes out after Superman, and James Gunn has confirmed Peacemaker Season 2 takes place after Superman. But we have some cameos in there, even in the trailer. Sean Gunn's character, I forget the character he's playing, but Sean Gunn's in there.
He plays Maxwell Lord.
Yeah, that's right. So you got Sean Gunn in there. You've got Guy Gardner in there, and you got Hawk Girl in there, right? So that's great. But now James Gunn is hinting, oh, no. There's a cameo coming. That is, he had to say, so good, he had to say it 3 times.
Just like Zoolander.
Really, really, really big cameo, he says. This comes to us from the folks over at Games Radar, quoting James Gunn saying, "You've seen what we call the QUC, the Quantum Unfolding Chamber, in the first season of Peacemaker, and we see more about that technology in Superman." Gunn explains about the connections between the HBO show and the Superman, revealing that the QUC is the center of the story in Peacemaker Season 2, because we do see it in the trailer. We see a lot of different characters from Superman in this season of Peacemaker, including Isabella Merced, Nathan, and Sean. And then we see a bunch of other characters later on in the season from other parts of the DCU and from Superman. There might even be, this is the key part, one really, really, really big cameo near the end of the show. He teased. Then Games Radar goes on to speculate, could that big cameo also be from Superman? Could it be Superman himself or even Supergirl? Or is it perhaps related to the old DCEU? We will have to wait and find out. All right. There's a couple of nuggets in there. That, number one, seeing Isabel, Nate, Sean in the trailer, that we are going to see more characters from Superman pop up in it. So that's the first thing. Second thing, now we know that the MacGuffin of Peacemaker Season 2 is going to be the QUC, which of course we get a glimpse of in the trailer. And that's a lot to talk about all on its own. When James Gunn goes, and he says other characters from Superman going to show up, so that's another thing. But then he says, there might even be one really, really, really big cameo at the end. The imagination, Rob, runneth wild about what could be a really, really, really big cameo at the end. Because to me, there's 3 roads you could go down. All right. Road number 1, and these are descending into less likely. Road number 1, which I think is the more likely one, is a big, major, crazy cameo involved in this DCU. Superman himself? Sure. What about Batman? What if Batman is like literally introduced to us in the Peacemaker Season 2? What if it's Wonder Woman? He's not putting 3 reallys in front of big cameo unless it's something I think on that scale. Like, I don't think he's going to say really, really, really big cameo for the Wonder Twins, right? Or something like that. I think it would be something big. It would be something major, something along those lines. Maybe a Joker, maybe a villain of some sorts. I don't know. Road number 2 is the road of the old DCEU. What if Henry Cavill pops up in it? What if Ben Affleck pops up in it? I'm not saying that's likely. Remember, we're going to go less and less likely. I'm not saying it's likely. Like, what if it could be one of those characters? Remember, he is dealing with the QUC, and maybe that brings some possibilities in there. So that's road number 2. Road number 1, current DCU. Road number 2, old DCEU. Rob, what about this for road number 3? Marvel. James Gunn's old cast from Guardians of the Galaxy. What if a Chris Pratt, not necessarily dressed up as Star-Lord? Now, because I don't believe we're going to get a Justice League versus Avengers crossover. I don't believe that's ever going to happen. But given that Kevin Feige and James Gunn are so tight, could just a fun little quick cameo be permitted? Again, this is the least likely of the 3 roads. Okay. Yeah. I'm telling, I don't think this is going to happen. Let's just be clear. I think the most likely is the current DCU road. The second least likely is going to be the DCEU road. And the third least likely, what if a Zoe Saldana or a Dave Bautista, who is super tight with James Gunn, or a Chris Pratt, or, something along those lines. Like that. So, Rob, those are the 3 potential roads I see when James Gunn is talking really, really, really big cameo. What do you think about those 3 roads? Would you add another road? Who are some names that pop into your head? What do you think?
Well, like at the end of Peacemaker, you had the superheroes, like the Justice League cameo briefly.
Yeah, a couple of silhouettes, and you actually had Aquaman.
Yeah, and Flash. So when he says really, really big cameo, I don't know what he's meaning, but I'll tell you what popped into my mind. The very first thing that popped into my mind when I read this is Darkseid. Some new DC character that is because if we're going the Supergirl route, Tom King's Supergirl route, and you have characters like Lobo, who's a cosmic character, you've already opened up the cosmic area of DC. And, Darkseid's always looking for the anti-life equation, and I just think it would be funny. It would trigger half of X. I can't believe James Gunn brought Darkseid into the thing with Peacemaker. I mean, that would be a James Gunn Peacemaker thing to do.
It would be, yeah.
And that was the first thing that popped into my mind. But he did say really, really, really big cameo, which means that for us, the audience, it's like from his perspective, from a DC universe character, an in-universe character, I was thinking that's what Darkseid. But then immediately I thought, well, he's talking about for us, the audience, who would really, 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 really be big. I don't think it would be Superman because that would be. I already expect Superman characters because they already are showing up in Peacemaker.
In the trailer, there are Superman
We've already
characters.
seen that,
Yeah.
So I could see it being a Batman situation, something along those lines, where Batman just. You could do a riff on Justice League International where Batman punches Guy Gardner in the face, where Batman shows up and just punches Peacemaker in the face, you know, or
Hayden,
something.
Hayden in the live chat is saying Rainn Wilson from Super.
Well, yeah,
That would be that's not a really, but that would be a deep cut.
yeah,
would be a
that
deep
to bring
cut.
that character into the DC universe. I mean, look, I'm looking forward to it. I just think it's either going to be somebody big in the DC universe that we haven't thought of yet, or it's going to be something completely
it's
off
Lobo.
the wall.
I was thinking.
I mean, Lobo's another one.
Lobo's a good one.
I was
Because
thinking it could
James
be Lobo.
Gunn, I mean, I was going to say Jason Momoa literally did the cameo at the end of season 1 of Peacemaker.
Right.
Now when he pops up at the end of season 2, but this time as a completely different character.
Yeah, which would be pretty fun.
I would say
mean-
though, if it is Batman, they need to treat it like Batman is Jaws, and it's the first time you saw Jaws pop out of the water. I want
Yeah.
it to be like, holy,
You're going to
crap.
need a bigger boat kind of.
Yeah.
A bigger universe.
You need
But
to
you know
treat
what?
it that way.
If it is Jason Momoa at the end as Lobo, I don't know how they arrange it, but somehow, some way, he's got to say the same line. Fuck you, Barry. Like if they have Jason Momoa at the end, but as a completely different character, but for some reason there's some guy named Barry there, and he could say that would be great. By the way, there is also a fourth road, because like one was current DCU, second DCEU, third maybe something connected to Guardians of the Galaxy. I guess the fourth one would be, and a friend of mine just texted this to me too, is just big celebrity. Like,
Yeah.
what if Tom Cruise pops into the end?
Oh, yeah.
What if, I don't know, who would be like the biggest female star in the world right now? I don't know if it's Anya Taylor-Joy or Florence Pugh or something along those lines. Just kind of walk in at the end, George Clooney or something like that. So that, or as one of my friends said, what William Shatner shows up at the end, which would instantly make this one of Rob's favorite TV shows of all
Ever.
time. I think so. Maybe, but
Especially if he sang and danced.
Oh boy.
What if it's Harley Quinn?
If it's Harley Quinn wouldn't qualify as a really big cameo, but if it was Harley Quinn played by Margot Robbie,
Yeah.
that might.
I don't know.
I mean, that could be possible.
I'm just looking at the Peacemaker story wise and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Who could possibly appear? It's not like I would.
Or Shaquille O'Neal is Steel.
like I was gonna say, what if he literally means
Big.
really big?
That's how I first took it. Like I thought it was going to be a large character, maybe the shark again. I don't know. The shark.
Well,
Shark King
because I'll tell you something. Remember that promo they did where Shaquille O'Neal came in and met David Cornsweet?
Oh yes, that's right. Yeah.
Oh. Oh, maybe he.
I'm just saying. You know,
Oh
and he-
no. That was with David Corso. I think that was with John Cena.
Oh, yeah.
was it with but
Oh,
weren't
but
they
that makes sense
weren't they
too.
meeting with
Because it was
Superman though?
no, it was the NBA. It was TNT NBA, and like Shaquille O'Neal and Charles Barkley were there, and it was John Cena came in. I think.
But there was the one with James Gunn.
Was there
and
one with
yeah,
David
with
Cornsweet?
David Cornsweet
Oh, I didn't
and
see that one
Shaquille
then.
O'Neal.
Oh, if that's true, I did not see that one.
I mean, if they brought back the thing
Steel.
is Peacemaker, that would fit into that show so well.
It very would. It very much would. So let me ask you. If it's
And they specifically talk about Shaquille O'Neal says, "Can I be like? Why can't I be Superman? Like, why couldn't it be
I
me?"
did not see this. I got to look this up.
Yes.
I just saw the one he did
And-
with John Cena.
And then he like walks down the hallway and he's all pissed.
Okay, so but then again, that would go to because he has done that with John Cena promoting Peacemaker. They were promoting the release of the trailer of Peacemaker. Okay, well, let me ask you this. Let me get you percentages for you. Those three roads I just mentioned. Well, the four roads. Take current DCU out of it. So Batman, Wonder Woman, whatever. So let's put that one aside for a second. Chances that could be a cameo from the old DCEU.
I don't think so.
All right. Chances it could be a Guardians of the Galaxy cast member.
I don't think so either.
Okay, and then chances it could just be a big celebrity name.
I think it could be a big celebrity name playing a character.
Okay, but we agree that the most likely is a big DCU
Yeah.
thing. All right.
Yeah.
You know, I don't think this counts as the really big announcement, but Hayden did bring up Sholo as Blue Beetle, and James Gunn did say he's in this world, unless they change something along the
Sorry,
way.
who?
Blue Beetle.
Oh yeah, they did say that, but I think
But I don't
they're
think
gonna
that counts
confine
as
that
the-
to animated. I mean, that wouldn't count. Like
that wouldn't count for this, but I wonder if we ever see him.
Like the second lowest grossing movie they ever did.
No.
I don't think that
wouldn't be this.
Listen, I like the Blue Beetle movie, so I wouldn't mind at all if they brought Blue Beetle.
Look, George Clooney was at the end of Flash.
Yes, he was.
They could totally bring James Gunn would totally bring back Shaquille O'Neal's Steel.
I again, that would fall under the literal really. All right, guys. Question is for you. What do you think about this? I mean, James Gunn has just basically put it out there. Oh yeah, the final episode at the end of the season, there's a really big cameo. Is it a DCU character? Do you think it might be Batman? Maybe it's Wonder Woman. Do you think it could be somebody from the old DCU? Like, it would be kind of fun if Henry Cavill just kind of walked in as something else or other. Or do you think it just could be a big celebrity name? Maybe even a Guardians of the Galaxy cast member. Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to this, shall we? You know, I really like Daredevil Born Again. I don't think it was as good as the Netflix seasons of it, but I thought it was really quite good. And I got a lot of people mad at me when I suggested I didn't think I thought the ratings for it would be solid, like really good, but people got kind of mad at me when I suggested on the show that it wasn't going to be skyrocket high because the old Netflix series was a while ago. It was never the highest rated thing on Netflix, all that kind of stuff. You did have them pop up in Superman. Well, I thought it'd be higher than this. The numbers are now in, and Daredevil Born Again has set an unfortunate record for Marvel streaming shows on Disney Plus. It's become the first series they've ever done that never once got on the Nielsen streaming charts. Every other show they've done has. They write this over at Comic Book Movie. Daredevil Born Again has become the first live-action Marvel Studios series, because a couple of the animated ones didn't, to not make Nielsen's top 10 original streaming shows list. The only other Marvel streaming titles to fail to find their way onto the list were animated: What If, Seasons 1 and 3, I Am Groot, and Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. Born Again is also the second live-action MCU Disney Plus show not to make Nielsen's overall top 10 list after Secret Invasion. That means
I can't believe Secret Invasion. Oh,
Agatha All Along, which it's unfair to Agatha All Along actually did very well. But Agatha All Along did better. Ms. Marvel did better. At least Ms. Marvel charted. All the other ones that they've done have done so. So the question kind of becomes, why did Daredevil become the first Marvel show not to chart on the top 10 streaming shows? Out of all the ones they've done, why couldn't Daredevil? I have a couple of theories. Theory number one, and this was one of the arguments that we were making even prior to the show coming out. It's R-rated. It's violent. It's not your typical Disney stuff. Now, Disney has more and more. They were at one time, no, our brand is always family friendly. Well, they've loosened on that. I mean, $1.3 billion Deadpool movie will do that. And so they've kind of embraced the harder core stuff. They've embraced the R rating. Now, I suspect whenever we do get a Blade movie, if we ever do, it'll probably be rated R too. Mm-hmm. But that is going to exclude some viewers from watching the show. Secondly, it's been a long time since Daredevil was on the air, man. Now, granted, he popped up in a quick cameo in Spider-Man, and we saw him in She-Hulk, and I really did like his appearance in She-Hulk. Terrible show, but I loved his appearance in it. But it's been a while, and that was Netflix. And not everybody watched the Netflix series. So I actually had one of our viewers write in this morning into the live chat before the show started saying, I never saw the Netflix show, and I kind of feel like I would be lost right away. Now, I'm not saying that's true, but maybe they would have been completely lost going into it. So I don't know. I guess there's a couple of reasons, I suppose. I also don't think it can be discounted, the fact that this happened in a time when the rep of the MCU is not as high as it used to be, although they've had a couple of big wins recently with both Thunderbolts and with Deadpool and all that kind of stuff. But I don't know, Rob, are you surprised to hear that Daredevil Born Again, which was one that a lot of fans seem to be the most excited about, ended up being the first show they've ever done not to chart on the top 10 on the Nielsen ratings? And why?
No, I'll tell you, my theory is similar to yours. I think I think people thought that they would get around to it. You know, unless you were a total diehard Daredevil fan, in a way, this seemed like, it's not fair for me to say this, but for general viewership, kind of like warmed over milk. Like, I mean, that's too mean, but because I liked the show quite a bit.
I did too.
But
I
it
really
wasn't
quite enjoyed
something.
it.
It wasn't something that was. We'd seen 3 great seasons before. We'd already been through. I think the excitement was sort of diminished, except amongst the faithful.
Right.
Like, I don't think a lot of new viewers, if you weren't already a Daredevil fan, you kind of felt like, well, I didn't watch Daredevil, so I'm not going to tune in. You know, and what it had was it had some of its original built-in audience, but I don't think it gained a new audience. Whereas like Agatha all along, you tune in and go, what the hell's this? If you have any cursory interest in Marvel, and you've got the female audience that you wouldn't normally get. Same with Miss Marvel. That picked up a female audience contingent that you didn't normally get. People tuned in because they didn't know what that was. It was like, what's that going to be like? I have no idea. It's new. Whereas Daredevil was like a used car.
And some people, like the person who wrote in, might have thought, I didn't watch the original, so I'm going to be lost if I watch
Right,
this.
exactly. I think there was that too. I think there was, but I will say this. I am willing to bet that during the interim before we get Daredevil season 2.5, what do you call it? I guess season 5.
Daredevil Born Again season 2.
Yes, okay.
Yes,
Daredevil
again.
Daredevil Born Again
Born
season
Again.
2. I would imagine, like all shows of quality, people will finally catch up to it. And they'll watch it and go, oh, it's pretty good. And then they'll go back and watch the original Disney series. So in the interim, I'll bet you the audience increases. And when we see season 2 of Daredevil Born Again, the audience will be larger.
Well, that was going to be my next question. Was now they're clearly not going to cancel season 2. They're already shooting it. Like the checks have been written. They're shooting that show as we speak. I mean, Jessica Jones. We just had the first shot of her on set with Matt, right? But I was going to ask, how do you think this translates going into the next season? Do you think this first season was strong enough that it will A, maintain the audience that did watch, and B, have positive word of mouth go out to get more people to catch up and then watch the second season?
I think exactly B. I think that's exactly what'll happen. I think that happens with a lot of, people forget that sometimes shows come out of the gate guns blazing and they have a huge audience. But sometimes it takes a while for word of mouth to sort of permeate the culture. And so people come to it later. Like I remember Game of Thrones was, when it first started, I was like, I'd even read the first book. But then, after hearing everyone love it, you have to watch it. I remember the biggest egregious example in my mind was X-Files. When X-Files started, it should have been a show that immediately appealed to my sensibilities. I can't believe X-Files is 32 years old now, but I didn't. Wow. I think I started watching it at the end of the first season when the Erlenmeyer Flask was going to air, which is the final episode, and I was like, "Where the hell have I been on this show?" And it took me a while, and I'm predisposed to liking X-Files, but I didn't even get around to it until the first season was almost over. So I think the audience will increase.
So here's a question I have then. The showrunner for Daredevil and the executive producer for Marvel in charge of, I can't remember the guy's name, the guy who's in charge of all Disney Plus streaming and animation. They mentioned that we're going to get a Daredevil. We're not going to have to wait years in between seasons. We're going to get them one after the other. Do you think these numbers will make them hesitate a little bit about green lighting and rolling into producing season 3, and they might take a little bit of a wait and see approach to see how season 2, if season 2 can rebound? Or do you think they're probably at this point committed to season 3 regardless?
No, I think they're committed to it because they know that the season ended prematurely. They know that it ended. It kind of ended with a whimper instead of a big bang because they knew they split the season in half. That it was going to be 18 episodes, and when people see the back half, they know their audience is going to be like, "Oh, this ramped up. This got really, really good."
We're also concurrently getting the special presentation of the Punisher too, leading into it.
Yeah, that could help too. And again, kind of like with Thunderbolts, like the Thunderbolts, which is like currently at about $360 million. It's still a big win for Marvel because people loved it, and that's going to help future Marvel. I think maybe with Daredevil, okay, it didn't chart, but the overall sentiment of the show was maybe not the best Daredevil, but it was really solid. And that could be something that they build on moving forward.
I agree. I think Thunderbolts, when they move it to Disney Plus, is going to be huge. I think a lot of people haven't tuned in, and people like that movie, and they're going to watch it over and over again. And it's going to do huge numbers on Disney Plus.
All right, guys. Question is for you. What do you think about this? Daredevil Born Again becomes the first live-action Marvel Disney Plus series that does not chart on that. That doesn't mean nobody watched it. It didn't chart on the Nielsen Top 10 original streaming series thing. All the other ones did. Do you think that's something to worry about? Do you think, like Rob believes that, no, this was strong enough, it'll build momentum, season 2 will do better? Do you think it won't? Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to this, shall we? You know, one of the things that's kind of been floated out there a lot is, when is Disney going to make an R-rated Star Wars project? To which, frankly, my response has always been, I hope they never do. You don't need Star Wars to be R-rated. But after watching Andor, which arguably may not, if it had been in theaters, may not have been rated R, seeing darker, more mature, heavier Star Wars has me maybe rethinking that a little bit. I'm still not saying I'm ready for an R-rated Star Wars thing. And like we just were talking about with Marvel and with Disney as a whole, Disney is no longer adverse to R ratings. They used to be for Marvel. Now they seem to be embracing R-rated stuff. Could they for Star Wars? Well, apparently one prominent filmmaker has already talked to Disney about doing R-rated Star Wars. And it's Ryan Reynolds. This comes to us from Yahoo Entertainment, who, quoting the thing, well, I'll just read the first paragraph here. It says, Ryan Reynolds thinks it's time. We've learned via The Hollywood Reporter that while appearing on the Box Office podcast recently, Reynolds said that he pitched Disney an R-rated Star Wars project. However, unlike his most famous R-rated project for Disney, Deadpool and Wolverine, he wouldn't actually star in it, but he would want to produce it and write it. Here's what he said. I pitched to Disney. I said, why don't we do an R-rated Star Wars property? It doesn't have to be overt A+ characters. There's a wide range of characters you could use. And I don't mean R-rated to be vulgar. R-rated as Trojan horse for emotion. I always wonder why studios don't want to just gamble on something like that. I'm not saying I want to be in it. I want to produce and write and be a part of the behind the scenes. Those kinds of IPs subsist really well on scarcity and surprise. We don't get scarcity really with Star Wars because of Disney Plus, but you can certainly still surprise people. All right. Now, like I said, that whole idea and notion goes completely against how I've felt about Star Wars for many years, which is you don't need to do the same thing I feel about Batman. You don't need to do R-rated Batman. You don't need to do R-rated Star Wars, all that kind of stuff. But again, like I said, Andor has recently maybe made me rethink that a little bit. Like when I see what they've done with Star Wars, like the idea of the Sopranos in the Star Wars setting or something along those lines, right? Which could be very intriguing. You take now something like an Andor, but you go even a little bit darker. I mean, balance it out with some levity, balance it out, balance your light and dark, absolutely. But you'd be willing to go a little bit more extreme, a little bit heavier. Rob, I still don't know if Bob Iger were to give me a call right now and say, hey, John, do you think we should greenlight an R-rated Star Wars thing? I'm still not sure what I would say to that, to be completely honest. But I am more open to that idea right now today than I ever have. When I think of R-rated and Ryan Reynolds, I don't necessarily think of Deadpool, which again, the very vulgar R-rated, but I think of Buried, which is like, it's R because it's the subject matter.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, and which I still think might be his best performance of his career is Buried. I don't know. Should we be open to something like this? And considering Disney is moving more and more that way with stuff like what we see in Marvel now and what we just saw with Andor, do you think it's something that could or should happen?
Okay. For me, like, I'll give you an example. I don't like hearing swear words in Star Trek. I don't mind if people want, like I recently watched the 4K of Michael Mann's first theatrical feature, Thief, which has some of the greatest profanity ever uttered in any movie ever. Mm-hmm. And I love it. It works in that movie. I don't like hearing every time I hear foul language in Star Trek, it's not because I'm certainly not a goody two shoes. It just doesn't belong. I mean, when Data said shit in Generations, I was like, oh my God, he swore. But it worked because it was like a joke.
Right.
So in Star Wars, like if they wanted to have a sex scene, it would totally take me out of it. I'm like, in this realm, Andor to me had R-rated themes and R-rated situations, like episode 8, the massacre on Gorman.
Right.
That was hardcore. You know,
or the assault on Bix by the Imperial officer.
The assault on Bix by the Imperial officer. Yes, and that wasn't I mean, that wasn't flesh. You know, it wasn't explicit, but it really worked. I thought for the subject matter that they were addressing. That to me is R-rated. You know, when you're dealing with those kinds of things, you don't have to deal with copious nudity. You don't have to deal with a bunch of foul language. You don't even have to deal with like a serial killer in the Star Wars universe who was hyper violent. I don't think that necessarily works. So there's a lot of ways to approach, I would say, rather call it R-rated. How about mature subject matter?
I think you could push a hard PG-13.
Yeah, but
where you just tread the line.
I just don't think. Yeah, it crosses a line into something else that Star Wars isn't. Like, I like smart adult Star Wars. That doesn't mean I want to see like an erotic thriller set in Star Wars universe.
But there's R-rated comes in
vulgar.
different flavors.
Right. Yes,
there are different flavors, and I think that's one of the reasons why, like Reynolds said, I'm not talking vulgar.
Right.
Rated R.
I don't think you get sex scenes. You don't get cut a lot like cussing unless it's Star Wars cussing, Bantha Poodoo. But you know,
yeah. I mean, Battlestar Galactica was good. You know, they had frack that was created.
But you could have like a really serious like battle, like that's almost like akin to Saving Private Ryan or something. And it's not even be that gory, but just like bodies dropping. It's serious. People you like, you're seeing drop.
Yeah.
You know,
or there's somebody made an AI video of what happens inside the Death Star when the reactor core explodes. I don't know if you've seen that.
I haven't seen that one.
It's an AI video where you see like Tarkin and you see all the poor people in the Death Star just get wasted, you know, as the explosion moves outward. And it's just an AI thing. But I'm like, if you chose to show that in Star Wars, it would take away from the triumph of just watching the Death Star explode by seeing all those poor thousands of people buy it. It's like, ooh.
If you had like in James Cameron's Titanic, where you literally see people in the Titanic as the water is taking their life away. But if you showed that in Star Wars, people on the Death Star.
Yeah.
It suddenly doesn't seem so jovial and exciting and heroic, does it?
Yeah, no.
We just killed 40,000 people.
Yes.
Well.
Anyway, guys. Question is for you. What do you think about this? I mean, with Disney moving more and more and embracing R-rated stuff with Marvel and with it embracing obviously more mature stuff with Andor, do you think Ryan Reynolds is right? Do you think maybe it's time for a not vulgar R-rated, but like maturity stuff, R-rated Star Wars stuff? I'm still not completely sold on it, but how do you feel about it? What would be the pros or cons? What kind of story do you think they could tell? Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to this. You know, I was, as I do every day, kind of smash scrolling through YouTube, and I come across this like thank you video from Chris Hemsworth, where it's just basically a lot of old footage and clips of his journey playing Thor and all this kind of stuff. And it's gotten a lot of people and outlets now talking that Chris Hemsworth has just kind of implied to everybody that Thor dies in Doomsday. Now, where's that all coming from? Like, you look at a headline like this. This is from Screen Rant writing, "Thank you for making my journey unforgettable. Chris Hemsworth shares Thor video ahead of Avengers Doomsday and reignites fears that his MCU story is now ending." Now, the reason they're saying that is because he wrote this on social media. "Playing Thor has been one of the greatest honors in my life. For the last 15 years, I've held Mjolnir and then Stormbreaker as the God of Thunder. But what made it truly special was sharing it with all of you. Your passion, your cheers, and your love for this character have meant everything to me. Thank you for making my journey through the Marvel Cinematic Universe unforgettable. Next up, Doomsday." Now, as far as I know, it's not his birthday. As far as I know, The day he dropped this did not mark any specific anniversary of his on the way and on the journey.
Was Sarah McLachlan playing over the video?
In the arms of the angel. Like that was not part of it. And normally I'm the guy who's saying, hey, we movie fans try to read way too much into stuff. And we do. But when he's like basically putting, this sounds like a farewell letter in many ways. And here's the part that some people have really been jumping on. They are shooting Doomsday and Secret Wars concurrently. They're shooting them back to back. It's all one big production. And some people are even jumping on saying, notice he didn't say next up Doomsday and Secret Wars. He's just saying next up Doomsday.
Well, they are a year apart.
Yeah, they are 1 year apart, but they're shooting them as one big production. Now, look, let's bring some rationality into this. He does not say anywhere in there that he is leaving. There have been reports, and we've talked about Chris Hemsworth even talking about they're trying to develop a 5th Thor movie. Also him saying next up Doomsday. Well, that is literally true. Next up is Doomsday. But again, the wording of it all is a little suspicious. We say, this has been the greatest honor of my life. It's like, are we at a retirement dinner? I have to thank all of you for making this worth it. So, I mean, I don't know. Rob, you read Hemsworth's statement. You saw the video. If he is saying goodbye, why would you telegraph it like this far out in advance? Or is this yet another part of Kevin Feige's strategy to keep everybody off kilter and not actually really know what's happening, what's going on, and get us talking about this so we're not talking about something else?
Flood
I
the
don't know.
zone.
How do you see this whole thing? Is it a misdirect?
No, I honestly, I think in this particular case, it's exactly what, I mean, we saw both Michael B. Jordan and Ryan Coogler make thank you letters, notes, videos for the success of Sinners. And I think if nothing else, I think Chris Hemsworth's like, you know what? He probably said, I want to give a thank. I'm really enjoying being together with my family. You know, you see pictures of some of the cast that are like in Bahrain eating with people. They're all over. He's probably having a great time and wanted to announce that, yeah, it is Avengers. I think he's planting the flag like, who are the Avengers going to be? And you're seeing lists of Sam Wilson and all these, you know, Shang-Chi, but no one said Thor in these lists of Avengers. So he wanted to come out and say, look, I want to say thanks to the fans and tell them, yes, indeed, I'm one of the old school Avengers. I'm back in this movie. If Mark Ruffalo's not in this movie, I want everyone to know I'm in this movie. So I just kind of saw it as an affirmation of
So you think he's there on set, having a great time playing Thor again, and was just moved to say, you know what, I got to write a thank you to the fans. For
yeah,
letting
like
me
I'm
do this.
here. I'm back. Thor's back, baby. You know, I saw a video. I put it out on Twitter. It was just some rando woman saying, I've realized what the problem with men and women are is that when if I ask my boyfriend or something, how are you feeling? And he goes, I'm a little bored. She goes, I see that meaning you're bored of me, you're bored of your life, you're bored of your entire relationship, you're bored of everything, when really he's just saying he's bored at that particular moment. And I think at this particular moment, what Chris Hemsworth was doing, he wanted to do something cool for the fans, get them talking. Thor's back in the movie. Yeah, man, we got 2 Avengers movies coming. And next up, because literally next up is Doomsday. That's literally the next movie up after Fantastic Four. I think that's all he's saying. I don't think he's saying anything about Secret Wars yet, because they probably haven't started shooting that or whatever, however that's going to work. You know, I think he's just taking him at his word.
Now, do you recall sometime before Endgame ever came out, Chris Evans put out kind of a similar sounding social media message saying, oh, it's been great playing Captain America. I mean, he didn't explicitly say, by the way, I'm done as Captain America. He didn't say that, but he kind of put out the same kind of message, then got some people thinking, oh, he's done in Endgame. And then sure enough, we get old man Steve. But you think this is completely innocent? This is just him feeling grateful?
Oh, no.
Exercising gratitude and thanking the fans?
No one's completely innocent with something like this.
True.
This had to be approved. They had to ask for it. They did it on purpose. This was something, there's a statement being made here. Absolutely. But I think the statement that's being made is Thor's back, baby. One of the OG Avengers is definitely, because we on this show, I have asked many times on this show, who are the Avengers?
Yeah.
Who are they going to be? And you're looking at this, and I think they have to, somebody probably said, we really should start trying to gin up some interest in this movie, because who's in it? Who are the Avengers? I mean, they haven't announced Benedict Cumberbatch is coming back, and he's not even really in one of the Avengers, even though he said he could get you on the lunchbox.
They already have like 80 people in it.
I know, but it's like, where are the Avengers? Where's the heavy hitters? If Hulk's not going to be in it, we know that Black Widow ain't in it.
Yeah.
We know that Hawkeye's probably not going to be in it. We know that Steve Rogers isn't going to be in it, and we know that Tony Stark is in it. So,
well, Chris Evans is in it.
Is he?
Oh yeah,
but he's not playing.
We don't know.
Right? Yeah.
We don't know.
Is he Captain Hydra? I mean, he's doing something.
Yeah.
But I don't think he's going to be an old school Avenger.
But they got a year. They got.
He
they
could,
got a year
because
and a half now.
Look, there's no reason to say, this is the funny thing. Steve Rogers, Captain America, he had the Infinity Stones, he gave them back or whatever. That doesn't mean he didn't necessarily, he's in the past. Somebody could go get him. The Avengers know that Steve Rogers lived a whole secondary life. Mm-hmm. Anybody could walk through time right now, go to when he's dancing. You could have him still dancing with, Agent Carter at the end of the movie, and someone knocks on the door. Hey, buddy, we need to borrow you.
I've been saying
we're going to bring you right back.
I've been saying that this whole time. That listen, I think that maybe somewhere in this Avengers film or sometime in the future, someone's just going to go, you know what? We need Steve Rogers, and Ant-Man maybe goes back through the quantum realm and says, "Hey, Cap, sorry to do this to you, but we really need you right now."
Or what if? I mean, what if you're there's a scene where they're dancing. There's a knock on the door. On that, we see the camera pull up.
And or maybe Nick Fury.
No, it's Dr. Doom.
Oh.
And he takes his mask off. And Tony Stark sees his face. And Chris Evans sees his face. And is like, what's going on, Steve? Tony. Tony. And there you have Captain America's looking. And that's the opening of the movie.
That would be a good opening to the movie.
I mean, Dr. Doom shows up at that house. And
instead of Dr. Doom showing up and wiping the floor with somebody, him like showing up at Steve Rogers' door.
I need your help.
Oh my God. That would be kind of cool. That'd be kind of cool.
I mean, that would be the kind of thing where ba-bam, and Peggy, I'll be back. because Steve Rogers wouldn't look at Tony. If Tony Stark looks just like Dr. Doom, they're in the past. He's like, this is a new look for you. It's a suit of armor. He doesn't know who Dr. Doom is. Like, I've never seen. You just look like Tony to me.
And then when does the Kool-Aid Man show up? And
go,
yeah.
And Seth Rogen's
but I mean, I could see something like that happening.
Yeah, they could do something.
I mean, they've got to come up with a better opening than Hawkeye and at the beginning of Endgame. And if it is,
I don't know that you can top that.
Yeah,
it's
one of my favorite movie openings of all time.
Oh my God.
And then cutting into Mr. Fantasy over the Marvel logo. But I mean, why you need to do something where you plant your flag at the very beginning. Like,
you have a big opening.
Here we go.
Big opening. I mean, like you have Infinity War and you have the destruction of the Asgardian ship with Thanos.
Or killing Loki, right?
What's that?
That's where Loki had his
17th death.
Yeah.
And then with Endgame, you have the Hawkeye thing, which I don't think you can top that opening. But you got, this can't be a 20-minute to get into the movie kind of. You got to come right out of the gate with something that grabs the audience by the throat, and maybe that's the death of Thor. I don't know. But
but also Doom needs Steve Rogers.
Well, let's stick on the topic at hand, though, which is but ultimately, you don't think Chris Hemsworth is really saying anything. You think this is that? I don't know,
I think it was
man.
his way of telling people, I'm shooting with my old friends. We're making an Avengers movie.
All right, guys. Question is for you. What did you think of Chris Hemsworth kind of out of nowhere dropping this YouTube video and then putting out a statement like thanking everybody? This has been a great honor. Next, I don't know. Is he kind of signaling that this is going to be the end of Thor before we even get into Secret War? Or do you think this is just him kind of feeling nostalgic, being back on set, having the hammer in his hand again, and just feeling grateful and wanting to express it? Whatever you guys think, jump down into the comments section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys, with all that down, it's now time for us to move on to the most important part of our show, which is taking your topics and questions. But before we do, we're going to bid adieu to the writer, director, producer
Adieu.
extraordinaire, Robert Meyer Burnett. Rob,
I mean-
thanks for being here. Great job again.
Dead Doom. I'm telling you, it could be great.
All right, guys. Now we're going to get on to your questions and comments. But before we do, we're going to take a quick moment here and thank the sponsor of today's episode of the John Campea Show podcast, our friends at Ridge. Guys, we want to take a second to thank a sponsor of today's video, Ridge. Hey guys, listen, I love this thing. This is my Ridge wallet, and honestly, I think it's the last wallet I'll probably ever need. I used to carry around this huge, bulky leather beast stuffed with receipts, old cards, and frankly, way too much junk. It messed up my back when I would sit down on it with my back pocket, and since switching to Ridge, game changer. This thing is sleek, compact, holds up to 12 cards plus cash, and it still fits perfectly in my front pocket. I've got the carbon fiber one. It's ridiculously durable and looks amazing. You can choose from over 50 different colors and styles too. And in today's world, this part is key. It's got RFID blocking tech built in so you can keep your info safe from digital thieves. Peace of mind and style? Absolutely. Another added bonus is if you're like me and constantly misplacing your stuff, they even have an AirTag attachment so you can always know where your wallet is. And to make this even better, Ridge gives you free shipping, a 99-day risk-free trial, and a lifetime warranty on all of their products, wallets, key cases, even suitcases. Right now, Ridge is having their huge Memorial Day sale. Get up to 40% off at ridge.com/Campea. That's ridge.com/Campea. And after you buy, tell them our show sent you because it helps a lot. And thank you to our friends at Ridge for sponsoring today's episode of the John Campea Show podcast. All right, guys. With that down, let's get over to your live questions here, shall we? Jonathan, what we got up first?
Pop Noodle says, just watch Thunderbolts finally. What a great film. Void at the end takes over New York, right? So does Spidey see Aunt May die again? Does Daredevil see Foggy die again? Does Kingpin see kids sing that song again and again? We built this city. What if the Punisher's show is Frank Breaking Bad because he relives his family's death again and again in the void? What if Banner was in New York? Smart Hulk gets killed by regular Hulk. Think he's stuck in the void. A good way to bring him back.
No, they're not going to do any of that stuff. Literally, they're not going to have that event have any implications on anything else. As far as the MCU is concerned, Daredevil wasn't even there. Fisk wasn't mayor. I mean, they really are separating that stuff out.
The timeline is off too because this season of Daredevil doesn't take place when Thunderbolts does.
Yeah, and so I don't really think they're going to have any further repercussions of that. Plus, don't forget the voiding, if you want to call it that, was very, very short. Like it's not like voided. It's not like the snap that existed then for 5 years and people were gone. The voiding was only around for probably 5 minutes.
And clearly it was only people that were outside because people that were like inside, it didn't happen to them. Remember? Because they had people like not in the shadow.
True. I think there was a shot of people in buildings getting voided. I might be wrong about that, but I'm pretty sure I remember seeing people standing in buildings, like looking outside, getting voided. But could be wrong about that.
He was kind of doing it as like a threat. This is what I could do. It wasn't like a full show of what. If he really wanted just to spark the whole world, I think he could have. It's just he was just like, it was like, wasn't he slowly like taking people away, like just while he was having that little showdown or stand down with
No, I think if he could have snapped his fingers in that moment and had the whole world just do that, I think he might have. I think this was just his power going out, and he didn't want to just wipe people out. He wanted to trap them in misery. That makes it even darker. Void wanted to trap people in their highest moment of misery and anguish and pain and sadness. Like it would have almost been more kind for him just to wipe them out of existence. All right, what's next?
Dan the Fan with a two-parter. Hey, Campea and crew, bring on the Avengers Doomsday. Patent pending. Also for Spider-Man, Brand New Day. Let's say Peter is at New York, NYU. After the events of Captain America, Brave New World, Professor Hulk, now a teacher at NYU, is tasked to cure the president of the Red Hulk. With the help, Peter, Angelica Jones, Sadie Sink, and Bobby Drake. Something goes wrong in the lab, releasing the Banner Hulk. Now Spider-Man and his many friends have to stop the Hulk. But that's just a theory. I don't think they want to tie anything to the Red Hulk right now.
No, I don't think they want to tie anything to that movie. That was a badly received movie, and I don't think you can get Harrison Ford back again.
And I only want Hulk as a cameo. I wasn't really ecstatic about Hulk being in Spider-Man. I just want Spider-Man to be Spider-Man. That's
Also, here's the thing. I hate it in movies, and this isn't just a Marvel thing. This is a lot of different IPs, so I'm not trying to pick on Marvel. When they say somebody's really smart, they think they're smart in everything.
right.
Peter is not a geneticist.
He's more of a chemist.
Well, he's even more of a technology guy.
That's true.
Right? Like he's not a geneticist. Although, I mean, he was anyway. So I don't think they're going to involve anything with Red Hulk. And I don't think while Hulk, if he is in this movie, and we don't know that he is, but that's the rumor. If he is in the movie, I don't think he's going to be the MacGuffin of the movie. Like, I don't think the movie's going to be about Hulk.
Yeah,
Although I wouldn't be
hope.
against, I wouldn't be against that, to be honest with you. But yeah, I don't know. But I certainly don't think that it's going to have anything to do with Red Hulk. I don't think it's going to have anything to do, and I certainly don't think they want to have any callbacks to that Captain America movie.
Yeah.
All right, what's next?
Jeremy, hey John, just wanted to say how much I appreciate your podcast. I recently found it on Spotify.
Oh, thank
That's
you,
cool.
man.
It's always nice to hear people find it on different avenues, you know?
Yeah.
I listen to you every day at work, love the topics and all the members on the show. You're my go-to podcast for the latest entertainment news.
Oh, thank you, man. I appreciate that. And, listen, by the way, guys, if you are, one of our YouTube subscribers, obviously watching this here, great, awesome. Go and subscribe to the podcast as well. So just that way, even if you like to consume the John Campea Show, like in video format, great. But go and subscribe to the, on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or your favorite podcasting app of choice. Go subscribe to it. So the next time you're like commuting and you can't be watching a video, or the next time you're out for a run, or the next time you're at the gym, or the next time you're on a flight or whatever, then it's there for you as well. So do us a favor and just go and subscribe to the channel, go subscribe to the podcast. So just that way it's there when you need it. All right, what's next?
Send me your Blade scripts. Says some 20th anniversaries that occurred this month: Madagascar, Revenge of the Sith, Cinderella Man, and The Longest Yard. Still have to see Cinderella Man. Madagascar has been a lifelong quotable movie for me. So crazy how time flies.
Yeah, I got to admit, I know a lot of people who really like Madagascar. I never really loved it. And I love everybody involved with it, but it never really clicked for me. But I'll tell you what, I'm not surprised to hear you say you didn't see Cinderella Man, because like almost nobody saw Cinderella Man. If I recall correctly, listen, this movie was great. It was not a good movie. It was a great movie. And Russell Crowe was every bit as good in that movie as he was in Gladiator, which I think he won his Academy Award for. It's a fantastic movie, and nobody went to go see it. It was so bad that, if I remember correctly, I think the studio even did like free screenings for it or a money back guarantee for like, hey, go see this movie. If you don't like it, we'll give you your money back. That's how confident we are that you'll like it. But like I truly think it is one of the more underrated films. Like, I don't think it's as underrated as Stardust or things like that, but I think it is one of the most underappreciated films that's been made in the last like 25 years. It's fantastic. If you haven't seen Cinderella Man, watch it. It's really, really good. All right, what's next?
All right, Kareem is going to hit us with our anniversaries here. Movie and TV milestone anniversaries this month, so up to 30 years. 2020, so 5 years ago was Scoob, Solar Opposite, Stargirl, Looney Tunes cartoons. 10 years ago was Avengers Age of Ultron, Mad Max Fury Road. 10 years ago, man. Pitch Perfect 2, Tomorrowland, and San Andreas. Then we go to 15
San Andreas was 10 years ago?
Yeah.
Wow.
And then 15 years ago, Iron Man 2, Shrek Forever After, Prince of Persia, The Sands of Time.
I actually thought that was longer ago.
I know. Now, Shrek Forever After, was that the final one?
Yes, I think
so it was 15 years ago. 20 years ago would be Crash, Star Wars Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith, Madagascar, Hell's Kitchen, the U.S. version, and The Life and Times of Juniper Lee. 25 years ago would, Gladiator, Battlefield Earth.
Ugh.
Boy, Disney's Dinosaur. Wasn't big on Dinosaur. I watched it once.
No, neither was I.
Mission Impossible 2. That was my least of the favorite of the Shanghai Noon. I actually kind of had fun with.
I love that movie.
Yeah.
Jackie Chan, Owen Wilson.
Princess Pee-Pee. We got to rescue Princess Pee-Pee. Survivor would be, and then 95 is 30 years ago, which is Die Hard with a Vengeance, Braveheart, and Casper the Friendly Ghost. Wait, Braveheart was 95? I guess so. I thought it was like 93, but all right.
Yeah, it was 95. I remember I was just starting college when that came out. Still one of the greatest movies ever made.
Yeah.
Like think what you want, understandably so. Think what you want about Mel Gibson.
Yeah.
That's one of the greatest movies ever made. I don't care. Like I don't care what we think about the guy individually now. That's one of the greatest movies ever made. Like that movie's just remarkable. All right, what's next?
Okay, we got a four-parter from CR. Hey, John, how do you think the Harry Potter production schedule will be handled season to season? Assuming 7 seasons throughout 10 years, I think it would be beneficial if they just work on a fixed yearly schedule every year for 7 years. Now, this would lead to them filming seasons that won't come out right away, say filming season 6 while they're releasing season 4 on HBO. Also, I assume other things need to be considered, like how long scripts and sets take to build, as well as VFX. But they're not necessarily starting from scratch since they have the films to guide them on what works and what doesn't. And I don't see a problem with having the raw film sitting there from later seasons until the VFX team can get around to them. I'd love to learn your thoughts on this and learn a bit more about the production side of why this might or might not be a good way to handle it.
There's nothing special about it. Guys, for 50 years, TV shows made a season every year. For 50, 60, 70 years, however long television's been around. And they didn't make 8-episode bullshit. They made 23 episodes, 24 episodes, 22 episodes every year.
And Game of Thrones managed it every year.
Game of Thrones, up until close to the end.
Near the
Game
end,
of Thrones
but yeah.
had every year. Sopranos, new season every year. It's not rocket science. I mean, these aren't going to be, 20 episode seasons. They're going to be more manageable. They're going to have sets constructed. They're going to have their locations. They've got their performers. Here's the other thing. What you can't do with something like this is shoot like 3 years in advance, right? You can't shoot season 6 in just your second or third year. Like you just can't produce and have it already because you need these kids to age, right? You need them to age. But it's literally just going to be like the way television has always been done. They're going to shoot it. They're going to have their schedules and they're going to have a new season close to every year being ready to come out. It's not like they have to do some kind of alchemy and come up with something that's never been done before. It's just shooting a TV show that's going to have a new season every year. That's it. And guess what? They're going to have time in between. These kids, as they get a bit older, they're going to get other roles too. And they're going to have plenty of time to shoot their season and go off and shoot other things, maybe even a couple of other things, then come back to shoot for season 2. They're not reinventing the wheel here. It's not going to be that difficult for them, to be honest. All right, what's next?
Batan says, one thing that grinds my gears is that some people don't make the difference between animation and cartoons. I feel that people not making that distinction is why animation is being thought of as for kids, quote unquote. In America, they think animation must be wacky.
Well, animation is cartoons.
It's all animation. It's just if it's adult animation.
I mean, it's just semantics,
animation,
really.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I get it. One term can have a more negative connotation. One can have a more positive connotation, but it's still the same thing. And by the way, cartoons don't necessarily have to be silly and goofy and whatever, although some people will use it as a negative term, but they are what they are. So, I mean, look, and then some people argue that only hand-drawn 2D animation are actually cartoons. 3D animation is not cartoon. I mean, whatever. To me, personally, it's semantics, and they're like anything else. A live-action thing can be good or bad. A live-action thing can be serious and dark or silly and whatever. Cartoons, animation can be the same thing. Some of it is silly and ridiculous. Some of it is really good. So it's just the difference in the medium, that's all. All right, what's next?
Jake G says, a big reason I think Dune and Doomsday won't open the same day is because of one thing, IMAX. Oppenheimer and IMAX movie, and Barbie was not. Both of these films will want those screens, which theaters have only one if they have an IMAX. It's a good point, I think.
Yeah, I don't know if they're both scheduled to come out on the same day. I know they're coming out in the same season, but the IMAX real estate is going to be a serious thing.
Yeah.
That's going to be a serious issue. Do you move out if you're either of those two movies? Do you move out of the incredibly lucrative Christmas season just for those very few IMAX screens? I don't know that you do. I don't know that you do. Because remember, the IMAX screens are super finite. There's only a very, very limited number of them. And while they make big money for how few screens there are, the benefits of being released in December far outweigh it. So I mean, it is an issue, 100%, but I don't know it's going to make them change their release schedule. All right. What's next? Start to answer it yourself first, because I got to plug these things back in.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. Matt Delaney says, "Hey, John, since you loved video game stories like God of War and The Last of Us, wanted to recommend Claire Obscure Expedition 33. Yeah, we've had that recommendation a couple times. Will likely win Game of the Year. And for me personally, it's the most original and compelling story I've experienced in 5 years." So you've had that recommendation coming to you. Have you watched any of the videos or anything?
I have not yet. The thing that appeals to me most about it is it's turn-based.
Yes.
And I know a lot of people cry about turn-based. I personally really love I've loved turn-based ever since Final Fantasy VII. I just really like the mechanic of it. I like the way it works. Although I have been told it's kind of semi-turn-based, like you still have to time blocks and things like that. My buddy tells me, John, I think I get really frustrated with it, but whatever. I am looking forward to giving it a shot. I got my PlayStation all ready to go. I just haven't downloaded it yet, but I'm going to. I'm going to give it a shot. I'm looking forward to it. All right, what's next?
$20 tip from Ray Ray.
Thank you, Ray Ray.
So John Christopher McQuarrie said his Man of Steel would have been effing good. Well, I'm sure every director will say that. That being said, if you could only have one, would it be a great Highlander remake with Cavill or a great Man of Steel with Henry Cavill? Only one.
You mean
choose.
a great Man of Steel 2 with Henry
yes.
Cavill? That's easy. Highlander.
Yeah.
But John, you love Man of Steel. I do, but I got it. I haven't gotten a new Highlander. And so, I mean, I want them both? 100% I want them both. But Highlander is one of my top 10 all-time favorite films. And I've been waiting a long time for that. I mean, they were literally talking about doing a new Highlander 15 years ago with Ryan Reynolds. It never came to fruition. Now we got, one of the John Wick guys. We've got Henry Cavill. I mean, this is the one. I got my Man of Steel. I would love another one, but I got it. I need this Highlander. So that's the one I would take.
All right.
All right, what's next?
Got a few more here. Raymond says, rest in peace to Peter Kwong at 73. One of the three Storms, the Chinese villains that with big hats in John Carpenter's Big Trouble in Little China. Was such a cult classic. Kurt Russell, Kim Cattrall, and James Hong, which I actually met James Hong once before.
So did I.
Are still around. How about a sequel or new movie?
No, nobody would watch it.
It didn't do well. It bombed.
Yeah. And listen, they tried. Remember when we were at AMC? There was a big push. It was a real story. This was really happening. Dwayne Johnson was going to do a Big Trouble in Little China remake. They tried to get that going, but I think their market research just showed there really wouldn't be interest in it. And while it's kind of got a cult classic aura about it, it didn't do all that well. And I'll be honest with you, I don't think it would do particularly well if you tried to do a sequel. I know it wouldn't do very well. And I think that's ultimately why the Dwayne Johnson one fell through. Even though he was the biggest box office star in the world at the time, even then they knew people wouldn't go see it. So yeah, I get as much of a kick out as the original as everybody, but I really don't think I would green light doing a sequel. It would be an almost guaranteed money loser. All right, what's next?
Alazam says, what do you think or want to be the big bad of the DCU? And what do you think the overall storyline would be? It's still early, but it's fun to guess who would be the best character to do it. Don't want Darkseid or the Crisis storyline.
I don't know, and I don't care. I really just want to see what James Gunn has in store. There's a lot of different characters in DC who could fill that thing. I hope they don't go the route of like the Anti-Monitor or anything like that, because I'm not really interested in that story. I mean, Darkseid is really your obvious choice, but I don't think you introduce him until later. Here's what I would do. I would not worry about I honestly don't give two squirts of piss about the overall story. I want good individual movies. Because if you don't have good individual movies, nothing else matters. I don't care if you have this one big overarching story. If each individual movie isn't a good quality, enjoyable experience movie, it doesn't mean shit. So if I were James Gunn, and I am not, what I would do is just spend the first 3 years just building the reputation that we at DC make great movies. Don't worry about how do we tie this into everything else. Doesn't matter. I mean, sure, you want to have some connective tissue. Of course you do, but don't worry about the overall. Just worry about making really good individual films. And then maybe have elements of those films come back to tie in later. When you look at even the MCU, in hindsight, you can see how it all tied together. But really, as they were going, they just made a really good Iron Man movie. And then they made a really good Captain America movie. And they made a really good Thor movie. You know, I would say, if I had to say who the big bad is, well, you make it Darkseid, but you save him for later. Just focus on making great standalone individual films, develop these characters, and then come out of the gate with Justice League later on. Listen, I also would have been totally fine if James Gunn came right out of the gate with Justice League. Because that's what Mad Max, George...
oh, yeah. Oh, gosh. Any literal time I could think of it. George Miller,
thank you. Like, George Miller was going to do that. He was just going to come right out of the gate. Boom, Justice League, first thing. And the script was really good. I think that could have worked too, but that's not the route they're going, and that's fine. So I just think you just focus on making great individual movies and don't give two squirts of piss about what the overall story is. Worry about that later. For now, just focus on the good movies. All right, what's next?
Dildor says, saw Lilo and Stitch and I enjoyed it. I still prefer the original. I hated how they made Jumba stay evil, but I don't mind the ending they had for this. People are mad that Nani abandoned Lilo, but she didn't. She went to school. It's not abandonment. But they found a way that she didn't really. It works for me.
Here's the thing. The ending of this movie was far more authentic than the end of the animated one. She did not abandon Lilo. She was getting custody taken away from her, period. That was it. She was clearly, like, the movie itself shows she's not, like, she loves her little sister, but she's not in a place that she could actually raise her. She couldn't pay the bills. Like, remember, before Stitch ever showed up, she wasn't able to pay the bills. Lilo was getting into a lot of trouble. She was having a hard time keeping a job down. She does not abandon, like, you're a fucking idiot if you think she was abandoning. She wasn't. They made it really clear in the movie. She was losing custody.
Yeah.
And you know what? She would lose custody.
Yeah.
But they still found a way to make it far more authentic and real and still be a really happy ending.
And as far as I can tell, she's bettering her career. I mean, she's putting herself in a position where she could, like, help out her sister in the future. And by the time she's out of college, which, by the way, they'll be able to see each other that entire time. Like, what's the little girl's character's name? I can't remember.
Lilo?
Lilo, I mean. She's going to be like 12, 13 years old. And then, you know what I mean?
It was literally, this was a much better outcome for all the characters. So, I mean, listen, would I have been against it had they done the actual animated ending? No, because I prefer the animated one too. Like, I had a good time with Lilo and Stitch. It was not as good as I was hoping it would be, but it was still good. I prefer the animated one. But I think this ending makes far more sense. And I don't know. Really, you wish that this young girl the older sister, that she had to abandon all of her dreams and had to abandon everything. And, like, this movie found a way to make an even better ending to me, because all the characters came out more ahead. I just thought it was a much better ending. And again, I think the animated movie is the better movie. 100%, no argument for me. I'm on the same side as you. But I think this was the much better ending. I really do. All right, what's next?
Jenna says, oh, wait. Hang on. Sorry. We just got something. They bumped So now I lost my place. Jenna, why did you stop the after shows for The Last of Us?
It just became too much of a pain in the ass, to be honest with you. It was just too much of a pain in the ass. I was finding that it was too late for people on the East Coast to do it the day of the show. And we were talking about the episode on the next day's episode of the John Campea Show anyway. And then it just started feeling redundant to talk about it again later on in the evening. And so, yeah. And to be honest, not a ton of people were watching. I mean, it was a decent amount of people and everything, but it's like, it just wasn't worth it. So I just decided to stop doing it. Even though I love the show, but again, I tried doing the after show after the actual episodes, but a lot of people commented it was far too late in the evening, especially if they're on the East Coast. And then by the time, if we did it the next night, we already talked about the show on the John Campea Show.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just decided to stop doing it.
Yeah.
All right, what's next?
We got Anonymous. Could the Jurassic World opening box office tell us anything about what Superman could potentially have? And in the same way, could Superman's opening weekend predict Fantastic Four's first steps?
Nope. None of them have anything to do with the other.
No.
Jurassic World could completely flop and Superman could have a huge opening. Jurassic could have a huge opening and Superman could have a disastrous opening. And they literally... Now, I will say that if the movie's really good, like if Jurassic World is really good, regardless of how good or not so good it does in the opening weekend, if people, this is my philosophy and I've always seen it proved out. If people go to the movies and have a great time, they are more likely to come back to the movies again real soon. So if somebody goes and see Jurassic World and they have a wonderful time, they go with their girlfriend, they go with their friends, whatever, and they just all have a blast watching it. I'm not saying that Jurassic World will be great, but if it is, then they're going to come out of that going, what's the next big movie? Let's go see it again. It just increases the likelihood of that. But that's more of a quality question. I don't think the box office opening weekend of Jurassic will tell us anything about the potential opening weekend box office of Superman. And the box office opening of Superman won't tell us anything about the opening weekend box office of Fantastic Four. At least that's kind of how I see it. All right, what's next?
We got Mr. I. As of now, both Doom Messiah and Avengers Doomsday slated for December 18th, 2026. I can see one of them moving due to IMAX screens. Which one moves in your opinion?
They won't. Let me rephrase that. So I do think there's a possibility one of them moves. But I don't think they need to. Again, the IMAX screens, everybody seems to have this belief that IMAX will make up $100 million at the box office. It doesn't. There's too few of them. Does it make a difference? Yes, but it's not as big of a difference as you seem to think. And were this, say, September, then I think it's more likely that you move to take advantage of IMAX availability. But December is such a lucrative time. That is the biggest box office month of the year is December. There's just too much business. So whatever you lose in IMAX, you will more than make up for with December box office. So will one of them move? I'm not sure, but they absolutely, if one of them does move, it won't be because of IMAX. If it was some other month, maybe, but not here. I don't think it will here. All right. What's next?
All right, here's our final tip. Hey, John, in my opinion, Seinfeld's the best sitcom of all time, and Kramer's my favorite sitcom character ever. Do you have a favorite Kramer episode scene? Mine is when Kramer thinks he's hosting the Merv Griffin show.
The one where he thinks that was hilarious. The one when he thought he was the guest of honor at that one dinner is hilarious. The one where he's complaining about his water pressure is hilarious. Yeah, to me, Seinfeld isn't the number one best sitcom of all time, but it's in my top three, probably. It's in my top three. I love Seinfeld. And just watched Seinfeld for the first time last year. And she binged the whole series in like 3 months. Yeah, those are some of the ones that jump off to me off the top of my head.
I specifically have a favorite, but since he's a fan of Kramer, I'm going to give you guys a fun fact you may not know about the Seinfeld universe. Kramer sublets his apartment from Paul Reiser's character in Mad About You.
That's right. That's right.
It's all connected, and so is Friends. Friends is connected too because Paul Reiser's character gets waited on by the twin sister of Phoebe from Friends. So yeah.
And all right, guys, that'll do it for today's installment of the John Campea Show podcast. Thank you so much for being here and making our little show part of your day. Big special thank you to all you guys who sent in questions. Number one, because you gave us great fun things to talk about. But number two, you supported this channel as you did it. And all of us involved with the show, thank you guys so very much for your support. Hey guys, don't forget to come on back and join us again tomorrow. Click the thumbs up button, leave a comment down below. All this stuff helps satisfy the YouTube algorithm gods. We appreciate it very much that you do that. And thanks for all your support and thanks for being here, good guys. We'll see you again tomorrow for Ray Ora.
See you guys tomorrow.
Jonathan Voico.
Later.
The since left the room, Robert Meyer Burnett. My name's John Campea, and until next time, my friends, bye-bye.